Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Blessed Performance YouTube channel. Today, we're going to talk about the ODawg ported intake. We're going to talk about some differences between your stock intake and why, in our opinion, every 6.0 Powerstroke on the market needs one of these ODawg S2R ported intakes. So first of all, I would like to bring up the fact that this ported intake right here is 50 state legal pending CARB certification, so it's waiting on the CARB EO number. That means this can be installed in California because it has all your EGR goodies and everything available. So that way you can reinstall it with your bulletproof EGR cooler and a new OEM Ford EGR valve and keep that functionality while improving airflow of your truck, which is going to improve combustion, atomization, drop EGTs, increase spool up, make it just a happy truck all the way around. So the first thing I'd like to do is show you guys some differences on the intake side of things, so that way you can see what you're getting by swapping to this intake. If you notice right here, so let's look right in here on your stock intake first. If you look in there, obviously this one's been in here for a while, you can see how dirty it is. Now if you look right there, that is where your intake manifold hold down bolt goes through. If you can imagine air flowing in from right here, having to zigzag its way around all of these intake manifold bolts right here as it goes to the cylinders. What ends up happening is the back 4 cylinders get half the air, essentially, of the front 4 cylinders. That's why you can see a lot of carbon buildup back here in the back 4, more than the front. They get less airflow, which creates higher EGTs, poor atomization of the fuel, drops in power. There's a whole bunch of things that happen when you get less airflow, obviously. It's a diesel engine. You want airflow in and out. So when you look at the ODawg ported intake, if you look right here, what's awesome about it is it goes through and it gets rid of all of those bolt hold downs. By doing this, effectively, in comparison, the front cylinder compared to the back cylinder is only a 2% difference in airflow. That's a 46% increase over factory airflow when you talk about comparing this to a stock intake to the OEM intake to the ODawg ported intake. When we increase airflow that much on a diesel pickup, what you're going to notice is faster spool up, cooler EGTs, better atomization of the fuel. Of course, you're going to add some horsepower in that mix as well. So, dyno proven results on this bad boy. We see 150-degree minimum drop in EGTs. Most of the trucks we see right around 300 degrees. We can't ever guarantee a specific thing because we never know exactly what's going to happen because every truck responds different to modifications done to it. But in the general rule of thumb, minimum of 150-degree drop in EGTs is massive. Imagine you're towing your 30-foot camper up a mountain, you see 1,300, 1,400-degree EGTs. Take 150 degrees off that. At 1,300, 1,350, you start to back out of it. Well, now you take and install this bad boy and you're only seeing 1,150 to 1,200. Right then and there, you can stay into it while you're pulling that same mountain, not have to drop down in power, which is awesome. The other dyno proven result is factory versus factory. This intake was installed on a 100% factory truck. No tuning, no modifications at all. Nothing was changed. So from the factory, these are 325 to the crank, which generally equates to about 275 to the ground. Swapping this intake only and putting it back on the dyno, we saw a 25 horsepower increase. So that means just by swapping this intake and gaining all that massive airflow that you're getting to the back 4 cylinders that you used to not get with the factory intake, you see a 25 horsepower increase. That's huge. That's big numbers. That's a big deal. Once again, just a few quick spots. These are cast in America. They improve airflow to where there's only a 2% difference front to back, where the factory one is about a 75% difference front to back. And they improve airflow at 46% more airflow from the factory. So Adam, if you want to grab that camera, we're going to show them how to install these now. I'm going to move this out of the way. Real quick, I just want to do a quick little tip on how to install this. If you notice you don't have your factory bolts, in the rear, you're going to reuse your factory 2 bolts. Those 2 really don't affect airflow at all because they're at the very back. So one of them goes under your downpipe, one of them goes over here, and your injector harness grounds off on it. But in your kit, you'll get all of these Allen head bolts. They're a metric 5 Allen head bolt. And what you want to do, essentially, is your intake manifold gasket. Clearly, it goes on a specific way. The tabs go on the inside. If you notice this tab right here, and if you'll notice, it'll sit right in place just like that. So you can see that tab right there holding it in place. What you'll want to do is kind of on the bench, take this and lean it backwards just a little bit and go in here with your finger through this hole. I'm going to stick my finger in there to kind of help guide it. So what you'll do is you'll push this through just like that, and it'll usually lock into your intake manifold gasket, into the O-ring right there. And then you just continue on doing so. You'll do this all the way through until you come all the way down here, just like that. Now it's locked into place, and you can just continue on. Pops right through, that's what it's supposed to do. Put my finger on the backside in here to help kind of guide it, and then bloop, right through, alrighty? Then once you get all of them installed all the way around, you'll take and you'll slide this intake down in your valley. Of course your turbo will be out and everything else will be out of the way. You'll slide it down, and then from there, you'll start to tighten them up. Use the metric 5 to tighten these bad boys up, just like this. Now these aren't crazy torque. Because it's a small bolt, you can take this thread pitch and the size of the bolt and do a Google search to figure out what exact torque specs this bolt would withstand. In our experience, we generally torque them to about 10 foot-pounds, and we have no problems at that point. We don't break any. The last thing I want you to do is torque this to 30 foot-pounds and then break it, and then call me and say, man, I got a bolt stuck in my head. How do I get it out? We don't want that. We don't want that for you. We don't want that for me. So you'll go through and you'll tighten all these up to about 10 foot-pounds, and then you come back through, and there's the Boss O-ring plug, and you put these in here just like this and snug her up. Now, effectively, you got rid of all of those, if you remember from the factory intake, all those guides that go through the manifold essentially to help guide the bolt through. By getting rid of all of that, now it's a straight shot of air from here back to here instead of a zigzag pattern, okay? Which then creates pressure, creates restriction, which creates heat and restricts airflow to the back cylinders. So like I said, 2% difference from front to back on this, 46% increase in airflow in general. Adds 25 horsepower to your truck, to the rear wheels, on a stock truck. Of course, I'm sure that's more on a highly tuned and, you know, big injector, big turbo truck, but on this truck, or on a stock truck, that's what you see. Also, you see about a 150-degree drop in EGTs. In general, some trucks see 350, some see 150. We call it 150 to be safe, but I can tell you from experience, most trucks are right about 250. In the box, it comes with a new coolant port plug for your EGR cooler, the bypass on the EGR cooler, and then a new map hose plug. For this hole right here, we have an extra hole right here, right? This is your intake air temperature sensor. You'll get that out of your old intake, and you'll put that right in here. That's pretty much it. One other tech tip I want to talk about on when you install these, and we've come across this once or twice. It's not every truck this happens to. It's something to do with the casting of this versus the casting of the factory front cover. And for some reason, you'll run into this little issue. You have an idler pulley right here, sitting right underneath here. You have your fuel line that goes right here, your fan shroud mounts right here. So right underneath here is an idler pulley that's a smooth idler pulley. What'll happen sometimes is it'll touch like right there, just very slightly right there. The fix to this is pull that pulley off and put a washer behind it, just a regular standard washer, and tighten it back up, and then boom, you're free and clear. You need about that much clearance, if you can see that. It's very small. It's probably the thickness of this guy right here is how much clearance you need if you run into that issue on your truck. It's not a big catastrophic issue. Nothing crazy needs to be done, but you need to make sure that that pulley spins freely, or else you'll burn the belt up, obviously. So if you come across that issue, that's the fix. Give us a call, 1-800-577-2698. If you have any questions about these intakes, talk to Adam, Matt, or Clayton. We'd be glad to chat with you. We have them on all our trucks. It's the #1 thing we do to our truck is put on this ODawg ported intake S2R. We put this on every one of them. Every one of them, because it's the most important thing you can do for dollars per horsepower or dollars per benefit gains on a 6.0 Powerstroke. There's nothing else that compares to this in my personal and professional experience and or recommendation. This is the most important thing you can do to any 6.0 Powerstroke. Increasing airflow in an engine that already struggles with airflow is only a gain. You're only going to see cooler EGTs, faster spool up, more power from this intake, which is awesome. All of that easily makes us an easy purchase at $895 shipped to your door. You can order them in powder coats. Those usually take about a week, 1 to 2 weeks to get done. We don't keep those in stock with a specific color because random colors get ordered. So we don't keep them, we have to powder coat them as needed. So if you were to order this in any one of the options we have on the website, just know that's a 1 to 2 week lead time. If you order it in raw, you can take it to your local place, your local powder coat shop. Just make sure that they cover all these holes properly so you don't get anything down in there. And then also make sure that the threads don't get full of powder coat, because then it makes it a pain in the butt to install this guy. One other little tech tip, sometimes on some 05s and 07s, the bottom of the alternator has a almost like a V shape, a triangular shape right on top of this plug right here. So when you put this plug in and you go to put your alternator in, it'll touch right there. Most of the time you can just lightly snug it up and the alternator won't get hurt and it'll be just fine. The true fix is to get an 03 alternator, because they take that V and it's rotated over here to the side and it's not in the way anymore. These are all little things that we've come across that we've seen in installation and or talking to customers that we've helped them solve, so I want to share them with you. It's a great intake. It's aftermarket, so there might be little things here and there that you come up with that you got to adjust to. Nothing crazy out of the norm. I think I talk about this in every single YouTube video that I do when I go to installing parts. Aftermarket parts sometimes require a little bit of thinking outside the box to make them line up and make things work properly. But I can tell you from experience on this one here, it's very minimal changes. Sometimes you got to change an 03 alternator, put a little washer right here, nothing crazy. Okay, everything else fits perfectly in this intake. So be sure to click like, subscribe, follow, check out our Facebook, Instagram, and our TikTok, and give us a call with any questions. 1-800-577-2698. Once again, thank you very much for the support. Without you guys, our customers, we wouldn't have the opportunity to do what we do, and we greatly appreciate that.